Hey guys, so I'm gonna try something a bit different, and I figured I would make a video and just kind of what I've learned and what I'm planning to do. So for my architectural final this fall, what I've done is I've taken a painting by Seurat, a Sunday afternoon. It's a huge painting in Chicago, and I've placed my building in it. So we're creating a library. It's about this kind of flowing experience. So I've placed my building in it, and what I want to do for the presentation is I want to take the print that I've got and make it look like a painting. So this is a reproduction painting by what is his name? Robert Woods. There's tons of these made all over the country, and so I found this this one at a thrift shop for $10, and it's a print, and it has this like really, you can see it in the reflection, really tedious like continuous texture through it. And the way they achieve that is, I would imagine, through a machine, through using of like gel and finishes. And so what I'm going to attempt to do is to take my print through a process. I'm following an instruction off the internet. I'll place that in the description below. And what I'm hoping to do is take the print through the instruction and make it look as if it was actually painted, and then mount it in this frame. And so that is the through these series of finishes, sprays, and adhesives. Hopefully at the end of this we'll have a beautifully mounted, textural, really interesting, compelling painting at the end of it. So I have two different types of paper. I have a gloss and I have a matte. So we'll see which one works out the best. But other than that, yeah, just stay tuned. Okay, so what I've done is I've just grabbed a scrap piece of cardboard, and I'm gonna use this Krylon spray adhesive. I would imagine you can use any spray adhesive. This is just what I found handy. And I've chosen to use the gloss paper because everything that I purchased is a matte finish. Is a matte finish gel, and so I think that the gloss is going to resist absorbing most of the stuff, and so it's going to actually adhere to the surface instead of soaking into the paper. Then the matte paper is going to absorb. So what I'm going to attempt to do is just spray the original canvas, and then slowly but surely add the paper onto it, and hopefully doesn't end up crooked, and it doesn't doesn't end up creasing or wrinkling. So best of luck, I suppose. So we got it all put on there, and the only person I can thank is the Lord for this one, because man, this could have went really wrong really quick. But we got it on there. The gloss paper was super bowed coming off the roll. And so it made it kind of difficult to work with, but it actually turned out to be helpful. This Krylon spray adhesive says it takes like 30 minutes or so to like set up, and I don't know. I put it on there as soon as I put it in, and man, it was starting to tack up. It actually was really nice because it gave me some time to work with it a bit, adjust it. I made sure I didn't adhere to it too much before I flattened the whole thing down, but I basically started on the long direction, found a corner that worked, lined it up along the bottom, and then rolled it out towards the short direction, getting out any of the wrinkles or anything. And the end result actually looks pretty nice. It's got fingerprints and stuff on it from me touching it, but all that's going to clear up when I put the matte finish on it. So yeah, first scary step done, and we'll keep going. So the next step, the instructions are telling me, is to use this matte finish sealer, non-yellowing, all the good stuff. Again, Krylon, because I was just in the Krylon aisle. And so what that's going to do is it's gonna take the sheen out of the paper, so it'll look more like a finished painting, and it's also going to protect the painting from from the gel we're gonna put on it later. And so what that's gonna do is just gonna make sure the paper like keeps okay and it doesn't soak up and it doesn't start to peel or anything like that when we're working with it. And so I'm gonna leave my original spray thing out and just go to town on it, and then wait a bit to let that dry. So we added the matte finish to it. I gave it 3 light coats, and you can definitely tell the difference, how it's a lot more flat. It's not as glossy. It doesn't show all the fingerprints. It definitely flattened it out, and it's starting to feel like a really actual painting. And so the next step is to actually give it some texture, some bump, to bring out that pointillism that was original. And for that, I got this matte super heavy gel. Again, using the steps from the article I found online, which is down below. And I bought some just regular all-purpose brushes. This is really gonna be a, a learning experience. I've watched a couple videos on techniques. Since this is pointillism, nobody has really covered pointillism, how to give it that really kind of gritty texture feel. Because when you use the matte finish, it tends to leave white marks, and that is not the effect that we're going for. We're going for more of kind of just a light texture. I've seen some people use sponges. I'm gonna try a brush to give it some more kind of depth to it, a bit of irregularity, but we'll see how it turns out. So I've been trying a couple of different techniques, and it seems like it's been drying pretty clear. I've been keeping it really thin, so it goes on like this. It's like this white glue kind of stuff, and so it was kind of scary to start with, going like, oh no, it's just gonna be paint. But it's drying pretty clear, but I've been keeping it pretty thin, and it's not really giving me the texture I'm looking for. I'm looking for that high, really rich, really textural that you can see from a little bit away. And so what I'm gonna do in this corner, which is pretty dumb of me, I guess, is I'm gonna try 3 different areas with 3 different textural points to see how much I can get away with, because this is a 20 by 40 inch board. And if I'm gonna have to go through and really be specific about how much I'm adding, it's gonna take a long time, which isn't a bad thing, but if this can dry pretty clear without going back through and giving it a lot of coats, that's gonna be ideal. And so you can see that one's already even drying pretty clear because it was really thin. This one's gonna be a bit thicker. And then in the corner here, I'm gonna try and do a really thick, high peaked one. And I should be doing this around the perimeter to hide if it doesn't look right. I just wanna see how much I can get away with here. And I'm gonna have to stop myself at some point and be like, okay, this is good enough. Worst comes to worst, I can blend these together. There, that'll be the high peaked one. So yeah, we'll see how much I can get away with, because really this stuff is supposed to be brushed on, and maybe I should be trying different techniques. I should be brushing it on and then going back through and adding the peaks or the texture to it. But this is all a learning experience for both of us here. So learn from my mistakes, I suppose. Maybe add different directions of peaks. Yeah, I'm gonna have to call that good. So over there, it's drying pretty well. It's not like, you just can't see it from a really far away. It's not like popping out at you that it's a lot of texture. But we'll give it some time. We'll see what comes up from it. It's better than just a flat drawing, I suppose. But yeah, we'll see. So here we are with the 3 spots that I did in different textures. So you can see how it is when you put it on, and this is even dried like a bit. And it's still pretty high peaked and still some white spots. And so I was getting kind of nervous as I was doing it. But these were my test areas, and you can see that for one, they all kind of blend together. You can't see any white spots. For two, they're completely different texturally, but you obviously can't feel it. And so I guess you can see when you turn it on their side. So when you're looking straight on at the piece, you can't see any of the white spots. And this one you can kind of start to make out some texture. This one not so much because it's pretty low peaked. But you can see the different texturally when you turn them on their side. This one has very minimal white spots. This one has some more, and then this one you can actually see, some pretty high peaks. But to me, that's fine as long as you're looking straight on at the piece. And there's no white spots, that's all that matters. If I can get a certain amount of texture from the high peaked one that I want over the entire piece, then that's fine with me. But some people might not want those white spots when you look at from the side. But unfortunately, that means I'm gonna have to do the whole thing by hand in a stipple motion, that I won't be able to use that brush or that sponge over there. I'll have to be using the brush that I'm using right now. And so, yeah, I guess we'll keep it pretty high peaked and start to go through the whole thing. Well, we're having quite a windstorm outside, and it looks like the power went out, but luckily there's still daylight. And the daylight actually lets you see the texture pretty intense. So above you can see what's dried and what is still wet. But if you look at the angle, you can see how it really does have that painted, textured look where it's dry. So hopefully it all dries as clear as it looks like it is. But we're just gonna keep going, and a lot more to do. But we'll just keep listening to some music and enjoy kind of the peace that a power outage brings. So we are making our way here through the piece, and I think it is looking absolutely incredible. Just from what it was to all this texture that's there now, and it's drying up, and there doesn't seem to be many white spots, and it's just really coming through. I wanted to show you kind of the technique that I was doing to get this this pointillism kind of stippled look. So basically, my brush is pretty trash at this point. So the technique that I'm doing is not good, so don't use this for your favorite brushes, but basically you just go and you just load it up. And so there's just a lot on there. And then you go to the piece and you just kind of dab and line, like discharge the brush so there's a bunch of paint on the canvas or on the print now, and then just go through and just kind of stipple it in. And so it really destroys the brush, but it does give this really like compelling kind of stipple effect through the whole piece. And then as I'm going through, if I go back and I see that there's some like white spots that I don't think they're gonna clear up, or I want to just kind of tap it down, I might go through and just kind of tap down some of the high points throughout it to just kind of flatten them out. But yeah, so that's the technique that I'm doing as of right now, and we're almost finished. And so, well, here we are, finished product, all mounted in the frame and hung up and finished up. And I've got to say it is pretty compelling the way it mounts up and the way it frames up. I mean, just the way just the frame meets the print. And you probably can't see it from this angle, but just the texture that comes from this is just intense. It's kind of difficult to perceive it when you're looking straight on, but it's definitely there. I don't have a comparison of what a print would have looked like in the frame beforehand, but I can say it probably wouldn't feel, I guess, as flat but textural as this. I mean, it's definitely, this doesn't have glass, so it's definitely something you can feel and something you can touch, and it feels like it has like distance in it. But yeah, very happy with it overall. All the parts and pieces used, I mean, I just followed the instructions that will be down in the description. But yeah, overall, happy with the whole process. Was fun to do. It was fun to kind of paint over top of it. But yeah, I think it turned out great, and can't wait to present it. Well, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, just feel free to put them in the comments, and I'll try and get to them when I can. But until next time.